Hello everyone and welcome to part 2 to what if Deku had a random quirk daily. If you do like this video, please like and subscribe, and if you want to see more, I do have a playlist down below that will have more content exactly like this. With that being said, I'm just going to get straight into it. The class continues as normal, Deku switching through quirks as the days goes on. A quirk that allows him to change his skin to blend in, a quirk that allows him to coat his skin in nail polish, just a bunch of random stuff. He doesn't really have a use for any of these, honestly, though he still uses them every now and then, discreetly fiddling with them in class whenever he's bored, careful to not show them off to Aizawa. He sits there in class one peaceful day. He was genuinely blessed this time, with a quirk with the ability to create an afterimage of himself. Only when he's active, though. He figures this out in the morning. His quirk trails half a second behind him. Kinda lame, though, if I'm being honest, but good for disorientation. He sits there and thinks of ways he can use it, looking through his notebook to see if he's had any similar quirks before. Before All Might rushes straight through the door like a normal person. Dick was still a fanboy in this, still obsessed with All Might just as much. I mean, he is his successor. Deku freaks out internally as All Might speaks about how they're training today. A heroes vs villains test. They make their way to building Gamma after getting their hero costumes on. Deku looking fly with pretty much just a tracksuit on. Black Mirio, though, it's made of his hair, so whenever his quirk is active, it can work with his clothes too. They all make their way down to class, and everyone is confused on why Deku looks so plain. All Might telling them not to worry about it and explaining their rules to them. 2 on each team. Heroes try and capture the bomb, villains try and protect the bomb. Simple. Deku was paired with OOOOOO like in canon, and Bakugo was paired with Ida like in canon. Deku stares daggers at Bakugo. Bakugo stares daggers at Deku. Deku barely even remembering who he was. They then begin to walk to the entrance of the building around the back. Deku's talking to Uraraka. So, what's your quirk? Deku's like, well, what isn't? He explains his quirk to her. How his quirk swaps every day and that today chance is on his side. He has a quirk that's useful for the situation he's in right now. They walk in, Deku rushing upstairs with Uraraka. No one for all. They turn the corner and see Bakugo blasting at them. Where's your teammate? Did you leave him? Him and Uraraka start giggling a little bit. Deku rushes straight at him. Bakugo throwing a looping overhand right with an explosion. I mean, Deku dodged this in canon and countered, so yeah, Deku is trained, yeah, nah. Deku slips a punch straight away, doing a 1-2 to his body, and then another to the liver, and then another. Bakugo clenches his stomach and bends down, feeling sick. Deku swings his left before sending a mean uppercut to him. And his afterimage still hitting him in the liver as his body flies into the air. Deku captures him mid-air immediately, figuring out who he was by his quirk after seeing it. He uses some of Aizawa's scarf and the capture tape to take Bakugo down for good before rushing upstairs. Uraraka looks on at Deku. He's a monster. He didn't even use his quirk. His quirk didn't do damage. Bakugo got first place on the entrance exam. Deku without a quirk is better than Bakugo with one. Her thoughts are interrupted by Deku waving her over. He found it. They peep inside, seeing Ida putting his voice on and trying to be a villain. They once again lose it, alerting him. Walking inside the room, they stare down Ida. Deku finally using his quirk, rushing at Ida before moving side to side. His afterimage following him. Deku bumping it up would create an image. Creates before images too. Ida is confused. Is this quirk a clone quirk? No. No wonders he didn't use it in the quirk test. Ida sends a kick at one of them, which Deku dodges, followed by an afterimage getting kicked. Ida tries to spin, Deku bringing the capture tape around his legs. Around his legs before All Might goes over the intercom. Hero team wins! Uraraka, while Ida was distracted, jumped over the 2 and touched the bomb. Bakugo wakes up hearing All Might over the intercom. They won? How? Blasting explosions, everyone with All Might sits simultaneously. Deku was a monster. His quirk wasn't even that good either. They walk back to class and start talking. Everyone asks what his power is and how it works. Deku calms them down and explains it. Pretty much every day I get a random quirk. It could be anything. Today I can make afterimage. Tomorrow I could be immortal. Who knows really? Everyone is dumbfounded, the class going completely silent. Momo speaks up. So, doesn't that mean no quirk was truly your own? How do you fight so well then? Deku speaks simply. Aizawa has a heart teacher. Don't get on his bad side if I were you. Everyone gets a chill down their spine. The rest of the matches go as normal and Bakugo sits in the back. This really hit him like a ton of bricks. He'd been fighting his whole life with his quirk, born with it, trained with it, but he was beaten by someone who used the quirk for the first time probably 3 hours ago. Bakugo was more than shamed. He low-key started shaking in the back of the class. Leaving early without anyone noticing, they make their way to the back of the class, Bakugo looking rough after training himself for a while. Deku was named president by the class alongside Momo, and the class goes on as usual. Deku and the class go on the bus, waiting for the USJ. Deku is happy as ever. He finally gets a quirk he's been wanting to try for a while now, though it's a little weaker than he wanted to be. Here's where I explain the second part of Deku's quirk. Now, his quirk gives him a random power every day, but since he's got one for all, any quirk he gets from the random power will be boosted to an almost awakened state. The quirk he got today was the ability to teleport short distances wherever he could see within a 2-meter radius. Though, since he has one for all, his power allows him to teleport anywhere within a 20-meter radius, and he doesn't have to see where he's going. He can just think and he's there. Deku has his fair share of good quirks, but teleportation was a power he loved personally, so his fascination grew as the day went on. While on the bus, Roppy starts a conversation with the class over who's the strongest. Everyone almost immediately points at Deku. Hiroshima yells out, "Who cares if he's not the strongest? He can be the strongest tomorrow. Hell, he could have been yesterday for all we know." Everyone nods. And he's strong without a quirk. You saw what happened with her. Kaminari is smacked by Bakugo, Deku getting first, Todoroki getting second, and Bakugo getting third, due to being bitched so easily. They make their way and walk inside, meeting Pro Hero 13. Deku is locked into her speech. Like, out of anyone, he's the one that needs to hear it. Any quirk he gets can be dangerous thanks to One For All. Little side note if anyone's wondering, One For All's quirks also in rotation. So that's why he hasn't unlocked like Black Whip or anything yet. They're in his rotation too. They're just going to be a little bit more common, I guess you can say. He's sitting there listening to Pro Hero 13 when Aizawa starts speaking. Everyone move. We got villains. A warp would form in the middle of the USJ. Everyone backing up as it grew and spat out hundreds of villains. Deku knew what he had to do. He teleported right out of the USJ, teleporting as far as he could before going on 100% One For All and sprinting to the school. This was not good. He made it to school, rushing inside and warning the teachers about what's happening. All Might sits there in his little suit, getting pissed. They rush back, seeing what happened. While they were gone, looking around, they see the kids in different parts of the USJ. Pro Hero 13 is badly injured with 6 students with her. Aizawa is currently about to get his head smashed in by the Nomu. Deku notices this, rushing 100% down the stairs and appearing next to the Nomu, smashing it full force in the stomach before teleporting behind it and kicking it straight into the atmosphere. Shigaraki and Korigiri stare in horror. 2 shots. It only took this kid 2 shots? What the hell? What's his quirk? Who is this guy? I've never heard of him. They look up, seeing they have the entirety of UA's faculty behind them. Immediately they try to teleport away. Deku, seeing this, would teleport in front of them, punching Shigaraki in the face into the portal before jumping in himself. All Might's eyes goes wild. No, Deku, don't! It's too late. The warp closes. Everyone stares on. Deku just jumped into enemy territory. This can't be good. All Might especially having a bad feeling about this. Deku crashes through the portal at max speed, his arms still holding Shigaraki's face. He throws Shigaraki at the wall, bouncing it off before knocking him out. Korigiri looks on as Deku, as he's about to get smacked too. Before he feels it, his eyes widen. He falls to his knee for a few seconds, catching his breath, looking around him, panting. Who are you? Show yourself. All For One walks out of the shadows, clapping, his metallic face mask and heavy breathing following after. Deku stares on in horror, taking a huge step back as All For One emerges. Aren't you rearing to fight, young hero? Deku's heart thumps, All For One activating, One For All almost activating off of instinct, his teleport activating on its own. He teleports out of the hospital, running as fast as he could away from All For One. He knew deep down if he stayed there, he would have been dead. All the questions flood his mind. Who was that? Why couldn't I fight? What was this quirk? Why the hospital? All he knew was that it was bad news. He teleported and ran as fast as he could, reaching UA after about 10 minutes, walking into the office, panting and coughing with his eyes wide open. Nezu looks at him. Oh my god, you look like you've seen a ghost. Deku looks at him. Jaku, Hospital. Bad. Never again. Nezu slows him down. They sit down and Deku looks at the ceiling as Nezu makes him tea. He notices the door opening, flinching and looking up. It was All Might. Deku? What are you doing here? You look like you just saw a ghost, kid. What happened while you were gone? Nezu sits down and explains his state. Deku begins talking and both of them. He teleports inside the hospital. He smashed the guy into the wall. Someone clapped. He felt nothing but fear. It was like his entire body was repulsed by him, even his quirk. He was tall, he had a suit on, and a weird metallic mask. Deku then explains how his quirk activated by itself and how he ran from here to there. All Might's eyes opened wider. A metallic mask? It couldn't be. Nezu and All Might chat for a little bit before explaining Deku the origins of One for All, and the power the man he just met had. All for one. A quirk similar to his, if they're fully honest. Deku thinks on this. Similar to mine, huh? He chills with them for a little bit before he feels a little bit safer and goes back to his dorm, chilling for a bit before sleeping. Having a vision of the past wielders and actually chatting to them. They tell him their quirks and Deku understands almost instantly. They chat a little bit more and get some lore dump stuff in. Deku waking up and being told about the UA Sports Fest by Aizawa. He's given a week off. Loki sitting on his phone the whole time, getting some NPC quirks until the day of the sports festival rolls around. Deku this day actually gets a strange but common quirk, a fire quirk. Not just any though, one similar to Endeavor's fire. He sits in the changing room lighting his finger on fire, making a small fire on his face like a mustache like Endeavor, just messing around with it. Todoroki looks over at him at the wrong time, seeing Deku with his father's quirk that makes him snap. He declares war on Deku right there and then. More than war. This is to prove himself. Deku hears this, confused on why Todoroki is so angry towards him. He's never even talked to the guy. He shrugs it off and walks to the stadium, everyone cheering before Bakure does his speech. Then everyone boos. They all line up at the obstacle course, ready to begin the first challenge. The bell goes off and Deku immediately uses his flames to burst his speed, rushing straight out of the tunnel before flying right up into the air. He's had flying and fire quirks before, but not quite like this. You can feel the heat off the bottom of his feet. He starts to sweat a little bit. He flies right over the 0-pointer, his sparks glowing bright as he fights past every single obstacle in a matter of a minute, stopping at the finish line before walking through the cheers and amazement of everyone in the crowd. They're all astounded at the speed he just got from the fire. Even Endeavor's impressed. All that speed without proper technique too. Why hasn't he heard of this kid? Todoroki comes in second with Bakure coming close third. Todoroki more than annoyed at this point. Bakure seething that he lost again to Icy Hot of all people. I'm going to skip the cavalry battle, let's be real. Like, Deku with a fire quirk, that's just cracked. Like, he's going to get first on that too. The 1v1 portion then begins. Deku walking onto the stage, stretching his shoulders and cracking his neck, looking down at Shinso. The tower guy from 1A warned him about his quirk. His quirk just being some type of memory erasing or brain typing quirk. He keeps himself on a leash. The bell goes off. Deku, being cautious, sends a fire shot at Shinso, which he barely dodges. Deku's confused. He sends another. Shinso barely dodges this time too, his shoe getting hit and charred a little bit. Deku speaks. Have you even trained? I barely shot those ears and you barely got hit. Shinso starts talking back, talking smack before saying he doesn't need a train to beat him. Deku doesn't lose his cool at this. Aizawa taught him better. He runs at Shinso, deactivating his quirk before putting his hands up. Shinso does the same. They meet in the middle and Shinso gets straight bodied. Left, right, kick, goodnight. Shinso falls over. Everyone goes nuts. Hell yeah, this kid's crazy. And without a quirk. The rest goes canon until Deku versus Todoroki. This gets a little bit